IELTS vocabulary. Replacing if in conditionals. In this lesson, we'll be studying how to replace the word if in conditionals with other words to make them sound more interesting. What we want to do here is learn how to use other words to replace if, so we don't have to use if all the time. For example, you can borrow my book if you return it before you go home. Now, what else could we use? Provided that. You can borrow my book provided that you return it before you go home. You can't go to a good university if you don't have good grades. Now, what can we replace if with? Unless. You can't go to a good university unless you have good grades, so we eliminated the don't. Let's try this one. Some people don't have to serve in the military if they do volunteer work. Now, what could we use in place of if? How about on the condition that? Some people don't have to serve in the military on the condition that they do volunteer work. Next we have, pollution will get worse if we continue to use fossil fuels. Can you think of anything to use instead of if? How about as long as? Pollution will get worse as long as we continue to use fossil fuels. Some people will never improve their economic situations, even if they work very hard. No matter how. Now, we can't just stick that in the sentence. We're going to have to do some rewriting here. We can't just say some people will never improve their economic situations no matter how they work very hard. Right? So we say, some people will never improve their economic situations no matter how hard they work at it. Let's try this one. Physics is a difficult subject to understand, even if you read a lot of books about it. So what can we use for if? We'll try however many, but we may have to do some rewriting here. Physics is a difficult subject to understand, however many books you read about it. So we eliminated the word even, and we changed you read a lot of books to books you read. Let's try this one. Crime is a problem even if you go to relatively safe countries. So now, what can we replace if with? Wherever. So now let's see how this will work. Crime is a problem wherever you go. Wow, so we really changed the sentence. It's much shorter now. If you want to make the condition sound stronger, just place the conditional expressions at the beginning of the sentences. Rewrite the following sentences with the conditional clauses at the beginning. You can borrow my book provided that you return it before you go home. That becomes, provided that you return it before you go home, you can borrow my book. You can't go to a good university unless you have good grades. Unless you have good grades, you can't go to a good university. Some people don't have to serve in the military on the condition that they do volunteer work. On the condition that they do volunteer work, some people don't have to serve in the military. Pollution will get worse as long as we continue to use fossil fuels. As long as we continue to use fossil fuels, pollution will get worse. Next we have, some people will never improve their economic situations no matter how hard they work at it. And that becomes, no matter how hard they work at it, some people will never improve their economic situations. Physics is a difficult subject to understand, however many books you read about it. However many books you read about it, physics is a difficult subject to understand. Crime is a problem wherever you go. Wherever you go, crime is a problem. Now it's your turn. Add your own information to the sentences that follow. American universities will accept students from abroad. So what would you put in that space? How about, provided that they have good grades? Well, that was a pretty simple one. That was much like what we already did, but let's try a different one now. This sentence is different from the ones we did before. Working for a large company can be a fulfilling experience. What would you write in this space? There could be different answers. One example might be, as long as you work hard to get ahead. Next I have, most banks are happy to lend or loan people money. Notice that I wrote both of these words here. I just wanted to point out that loan is the better choice when dealing with money. We usually loan money and lend objects. Anyway, what would you put in the blank? I put, on the condition that they have the means of paying it back. So that's my answer. Your answer could be different. The government will increase income tax. Now what would you put? I put, no matter how much people complain. Would you agree with that? Sometimes nouns can be used to express conditions. Being able to drive is one of the prerequisites of becoming a taxi driver. Before you accept any job, it is important that you agree with the conditions. It is a requirement of the university that you attend an interview. Well, that's the end of my lesson on replacing the if in conditional sentences with other types of words. So thanks for watching, and good luck in your writing.